Chapter 1, The First Call. Jess Martin sat cross-legged on her unmade bed, earbuds in, drowning in the familiar chaos of her dorm room. The hum of the radiator, muffled voices from the hall, the faint static from her playlist, background noise to another sleepless night. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it at first, assuming it was her mom checking in again. Buzz. She reached for it, annoyed. Unknown number. 1:13 a.m. She hesitated. Why would anyone call at this hour? Probably a spam call. She declined it with a swipe of her thumb. 2 seconds later, it buzzed again. Same number. Jess frowned. This time, she answered. Hello? Silence. Hello, she repeated, sharper this time. A faint hiss came through the speaker. Static. Then breathing. She froze. Not funny, Jess said, her voice tight. I'm hanging up now. A soft, rasping voice whispered. Jessie? Her blood ran cold. No one had called her that since she was a kid. Since. She ended the call. Hands trembling, she stared at the screen. Her brother used to call her Jessie. Her brother, who had died 10 years ago. The next day, she tried to forget about it. She told herself it was probably a glitch, a spoofed number, a prank. But that night, the phone rang again. Unknown number. 12:47 a.m. This time, she didn't answer. But the voicemail pinged seconds later. Her thumb hovered over the icon. She tapped play. At first, there was nothing but static. Then came a sound that made her stomach twist. A child's laughter. And then the same voice, low and hoarse. Jessie, it's cold here. She dropped the phone. The next day, Jess showed her phone to Max, her roommate and closest friend on campus. Max was a computer science major, perpetually hunched over his laptop, surrounded by energy drinks and cables. You're probably being spoofed, he said, typing rapidly. Scam bots do this all the time. Jess shook her head. Max, he called me Jessie. Nobody calls me that. Yeah, but... And then there was the laugh, she said, her voice breaking. It sounded like him. It sounded like Ethan. Max stopped typing. Your brother? Jess nodded, staring at her cold coffee. He's been gone for 10 years, Jess, Max said softly. It's not him. Then explain how the number doesn't exist in any registry. She pushed her phone towards him. Go ahead. Trace it. Max frowned. He ran the number through his tools. It's not showing up anywhere. Not even in spoofing databases. So what does that mean? He looked uneasy. It means? I don't know. That night, Jess turned her phone off before bed. At 1 a.m., she woke to the sound of her ringtone. Her phone was still off. She reached for it on her nightstand. The screen was black. But the sound kept coming. Ring. Ring. Her chest tightened. She turned the phone over. Written on the back, in smeared black marker, were words she didn't remember seeing before. Answer me. Jess didn't sleep after that. The next day, Max suggested they go to the library archives to look into the number's origin. Maybe it's tied to the area code, he said. But there was no area code. It was just numbers. Too many numbers. And yet, when Jess stared at them, they felt familiar, like a half-remembered melody. That night, the number called again. This time, Jess answered. Who are you? She demanded. Static. It's me. Jessie, don't you remember? Stop calling me, she shouted. A pause. If I stop, you'll forget me, again. Jess's breath caught in her throat. Ethan, she whispered. The voice didn't answer. Just the faint sound of a child crying. And then, don't let them take me again. The call ended. Jess sat in the dark, phone still pressed to her ear. That night, her dreams were filled with static. And in the static, she heard it. Jessie, come home. Chapter 2, The Hidden Thread. Jess didn't touch her phone all morning. It sat face down on the desk while she sat rigid in her chair, staring at her cold coffee. The words from the last call wouldn't leave her head. "Don't let them take me again." They felt heavier than they should. When Max entered the room, she didn't look up. "You didn't sleep again, did you?" She shook her head. Max grabbed her phone. "Let me try something else." By noon, Max had connected her phone to his laptop. Code scrolled across his screen as he worked. "This number isn't normal, Jess. It doesn't behave like any spoofed calls I've ever seen." "What does that mean?" He hesitated. "It means it's not coming from a traceable source. And get this, your call log shows numbers that aren't numbers." He turned the screen to her. The log was full of symbols, strange, glitching characters she couldn't recognize. "Those aren't numbers." "No. It's almost like code," Max said. "Encrypted. Or corrupted. Either way, it shouldn't be possible." "Then how is it happening?" Max didn't answer. That night, Jess turned her phone off and locked it in her desk drawer. At 2:03 a.m., the ringtone played. She bolted upright. The sound wasn't coming from her phone. It was coming from her laptop. The screen flickered to life. At first, only static. Then a window opened. A video file. It was labeled "Answer." Jess hovered her cursor over the play button. She hesitated. And clicked. The video showed her. Jess sat at her desk in the video, wearing the same clothes she had on now. But in the video, she wasn't moving. She was staring directly into the camera. Her eyes were wrong. Completely black. And then her lips moved. "Jessie, it's me." Jess slammed the laptop shut. Her phone, still in the drawer, buzzed violently. She grabbed it with shaking hands. The screen lit up. Unknown number. But this time, there was no decline button. Only one word. Answer. She pressed her thumb against the screen. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was louder this time. "Jessie, why did you leave me there?" "I don't understand," she whispered. "They're coming. Don't answer again." "Who's coming?" A long silence. And then, a sound that chilled her to her core. Knocking. Not from the phone. From her door. "Jess? You awake?" It was Max's voice. She exhaled in relief. "Yes. Don't scare me like that." "You're not going to believe this," Max said from the other side of the door. "I traced part of the signal. It's coming from your childhood address." Jess froze. "That's impossible." "That's what I thought. But," he paused. "We need to go there." 2 hours later, they were driving out of the city in Max's old sedan. The road stretched endlessly in the darkness. Jess hadn't been back to her old house in years. She didn't want to. Too many memories. Too much pain. Ethan's death. She had blocked out most of that night, except for the cold. Why was it always so cold? Max broke the silence. "The number stopped calling while you were asleep. I think it's tied to that place." Jess stared at her phone in her lap. The screen was black. But faintly, almost imperceptibly, numbers scrolled across it like veins of light under the glass. Too fast to read. As they turned down the dirt road toward the house, Jess's chest tightened. The place looked the same. Old. Decayed. Forgotten. But as they got closer, she could swear she saw a light in the upstairs window. "Did you see that?" she whispered. "Yeah," Max said, parking the car. But when they looked again, the light was gone. Inside, the air smelled of dust and rot. The floor creaked beneath their feet. Jess's phone vibrated. She pulled it out. Unknown number. She didn't answer. But this time, a text appeared. "You're almost there." In the corner of the living room, under a pile of rubble, Jess saw it. An old, burned phone. It was cracked and blackened. She picked it up carefully. It was warm. And as her fingers touched the screen, it flickered to life. A single message appeared. "Continue? Chapter 3, Unknown is inside." Max hadn't spoken in 20 minutes. He sat hunched over his laptop in the corner of Jess's living room, the glow of the screen flickering across his pale face. His fingers froze above the keyboard. Jess's voice broke the heavy silence. "What is it? Did you find something?" Max swallowed hard. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "This phone, it's wrong, Jess. It has files on it. But they're not like normal recordings." Jess stepped closer, clutching her arms. "What do you mean?" Max's eyes flicked up to hers. "These aren't videos or photos. It's like it's recording from inside." He double-clicked one of the files. Static hissed through the speakers, then a sharp pop. And then, her voice. "Don't leave me here, don't leave me here, don't leave me here." Jess recoiled. "What the hell is that? I never said that." Max shook his head. "I don't know. But the file, the timestamp is from last week." Her breath caught in her throat. "That's impossible." Max's stare hardened. "Are you sure?" Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Jess hesitated, then pulled it out. Unknown number. Before she could reject the call, it connected. A child's voice whispered through the speaker. "You hear me now? I'm closer." Her hand trembled. "Who are you?" "I was here. Always. Inside you." The phone screen flickered, and a video began to play. It was her bedroom. Jess was sitting on the bed, staring directly into the camera. But her eyes? Completely black. "You let me in, Jessie." The phone slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Max stepped back. This has to be some kind of game, right?" Jess's voice cracked. "No, it's not a game." The air felt colder now. Together, they crept up the creaking stairs. Jess's chest tightened with every step. "It's here," Max muttered under his breath. "What is?" "The signal. It's coming from that room." He pushed the door open. The room was empty, except for an old mirror on the far wall. Jess moved closer, her breath fogging the glass. And then she saw it. In the reflection, she stood alone, but there was another figure behind her. "Max?" She spun around. He was standing far across the room. But in the mirror, the figure remained, closer now. Chapter 4, The Dead Remember. The house creaked with every step Jess took. Her childhood home felt smaller somehow. The wallpaper was peeling, the air thick with the smell of dust and mildew. Memories clawed at the edge of her mind, faint laughter, a slam of a door, her brother's voice calling her name. But none of that belonged here anymore. She turned to Max, who lingered uneasily in the doorway. "You don't have to come in." "Are you kidding? There's no way I'm letting you wander in here alone." His voice sounded brave. His eyes didn't. They moved carefully down the hall. "Why here, Jess?" Max whispered. "Why would the calls lead us back to this place?" Jess's grip tightened on her phone. "I don't know. Maybe it's because of Liam." "Your brother?" She nodded. "This is where it happened. Maybe the numbers connected to him somehow." Her phone vibrated in her hand. Unknown number. She didn't answer this time. But a voice leaked through anyway, as though the call had bypassed the speaker. "You're so close. I've been waiting." They reached her old bedroom door. Jess hesitated. She placed her hand on the knob. "If anything happens, you run, Max." "Jess. Promise me." He swallowed hard. "Fine. I promise." The door creaked open. Her old room was untouched, toys still lined the shelves, her tiny bed still unmade. But the floorboards near the window were splintered and blackened, as if burned. Jess knelt down, brushing away debris. "It's coming from under here." Max crouched beside her. "What is?" "The signal." They pried up the boards together. The smell hit them first, acrid, metallic. Jess gagged. And then she saw it. A charred cell phone, half-melted, wires sticking out like veins. She reached for it. It was warm. The screen lit up. One word appeared. "Answer." Jess froze. "This isn't possible." Max grabbed her wrist. "Jess, don't." But she was already pressing her thumb to the screen. The world tilted. Suddenly, Jess wasn't in her childhood room anymore. She was standing in a corridor of endless mirrors, each reflecting her face, but in every reflection, her eyes were hollow and black. Jess? The voice echoed from nowhere and everywhere. Or should I say, hollow Jess? In the real world, Max was screaming her name. Jess stood frozen, her eyes glazed, clutching the burned phone. And then, her lips moved. But it wasn't her voice that spoke. She's not here right now. Would you like to leave a message? Chapter 5, Do Not Answer. Max didn't sleep that night. He sat across from Jess in her apartment, watching her as she stared blankly at her phone. It had been hours since they left the old house. Since she touched the burned phone. Since her voice, but not her voice, spoke through her lips. She's not here right now. Would you like to leave a message? Those words echoed in his skull like a curse. Jess hadn't spoken since. Her skin looked pale, waxy. Her eyes followed invisible things in the room. Max finally worked up the courage to whisper. Jess, are you still in there? No response. Her phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. Max reached for it, but her hand shot out like lightning, gripping his wrist with unnatural strength. Her head turned slowly toward him. Don't answer, she said. Her voice was hers again. But faint. Fragile. Max's phone lit up next. Unknown number. It wasn't Jess's ringtone. It was his. Why are they calling me now? Max muttered, pulling back. Jess looked at him, her lips trembling. Because, it's getting closer. He hesitated, then hit decline. The apartment plunged into silence. And then came the knock. 3 slow raps on the door. Jess flinched. Max stood, his whole body stiff with fear. Stay here. He grabbed a heavy flashlight and crept toward the door. Who's there? He called out. Silence. He leaned in closer. I'm calling the police. From the other side, a voice whispered. Don't do that. It was his own voice. Max stumbled back, heart hammering. Jess suddenly screamed. Max! He spun around. She was on the floor, convulsing. Her phone floated inches above her hand, vibrating violently. On the screen, do not answer. But he could hear a voice leaking out anyway. You're almost ready, Jess, only one more step. Max lunged forward, knocking the phone away. The screen went black. Jess's body went still. Jess. Her eyelids fluttered. I saw them, she whispered. Saw who? The ones who didn't hang up in time. They're trapped. Between rings. Between worlds. And now it's my turn. Max shook his head violently. No. We're going to end this. I'll smash that phone, It's not the phone. Her eyes locked on him. It's the number. The lights flickered. The air grew cold. Every device in the room, their phones, laptop, even the TV, lit up with the same message. One final call. Jess grabbed his hand. Max, whatever happens, don't answer it. Her phone began to ring. And ring. And ring. Max stared at the screen, paralyzed. Unknown number. He was shaking. Jess's voice came out as a whisper. It's here. From the phone speaker came a sound like heavy breathing. Then a voice spoke, quiet and full of static. Would you like to save your progress? Max's blood ran cold. Jess, what do we do? Her face was wet with tears. We don't answer. But then, Max's phone lit up. It wasn't a call. It was a text. From unknown number. If you don't answer, she dies. Chapter 6, The Final Message. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. Jess clutched Max's arm so tight her nails dug into his skin. Don't answer, she begged, her voice cracking. Max's eyes darted between their 2 phones, both glowing with that cursed label. Unknown number. But then the text echoed in his head. If you don't answer, she dies. Jess, Max whispered, his voice trembling. She shook her head violently. It's a trick. That's how it gets in. That's how it takes you. Her phone vibrated so hard it nearly fell off the table. Then it stopped. The silence was worse. For a moment, all they could hear was their own breathing. Jess let out a shaky laugh. Maybe it's over. But Max wasn't so sure. His phone buzzed again. This time, a voicemail. He hit play. There was static. Then a voice spoke. "Max, it's you." His blood ran cold. "You already answered. You just don't remember." The sound of a door creaking open came through the speaker. Jess gasped. "That's my apartment." They both turned. The door to the living room was ajar. "Did you leave that open?" Max asked, his voice barely audible. Jess shook her head. Then they heard it. A faint, slow tapping sound. Like fingernails on glass. Max grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter. "Stay behind me." They edged toward the door. The tapping grew louder. Closer. Jess's phone lit up again. This time, the screen showed a video feed of them. But in the video, Jess wasn't standing behind Max. She was smiling at the camera. Her eyes completely black. The Jess in the video whispered, "It's too late." The lights flickered and went out. Total darkness. Jess screamed. Something heavy moved in the living room. Max swung the flashlight wildly, but it only caught glimpses, a shadow darting across the walls, hands with too many fingers gripping the ceiling. Then, silence again. Max turned. Jess was gone. "Jess!" He ran to the living room. The phone on the table vibrated once more. Unknown number. This time, the words below it read, "Final message." He picked it up with shaking hands. "What do you want from us?" he shouted. A low, distorted voice spoke. The same thing it wanted from me, to continue. The flashlight flickered and went out. Max could feel cold breath on the back of his neck. He spun around. There, in the faint glow of the phone screen, stood Jess. But her eyes were empty sockets. Her mouth opened unnaturally wide as she whispered, "You never hung up." The phone slipped from his hands and shattered on the floor. In the screen's broken reflection, Max saw himself, but it wasn't him. His reflection smiled, eyes black and endless. "Your turn." The reflection reached out and pulled him through the glass. Blackheart epilogue. The next morning, Jess's apartment was quiet. On the table lay 2 phones, screens cracked and lifeless. The police report would say they were missing. No forced entry. No struggle. Just an empty room. And a single voicemail playing on repeat. "Would you like to save your progress? Clapperboard the end."